to the consent agenda. You guys have access to that. Members, can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda items? It's the April minutes from the April board meeting and the committee reports. Got a motion by David. Do we have a second? Jessica? All in favor? All right. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Members, at the time, we're going to move on to public comment. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate the time and commitment our community shows by participating in our board meetings. Your voices matter. They're important, and this portion of the agenda gives everyone an opportunity to share their thoughts directly with the board. Before we begin, let's go over a few important expectations. This is a public meeting. It is not a public debate. It's not an open forum. We ask that everyone share their comments respectfully so that all voices can be heard. Outbursts, clapping, cheering, those are disruptions that make it difficult for everyone to be heard and for the meeting to proceed in an orderly way. Guests, you have the right to address the board on any item on the agenda before it is considered or on any other area of concern. However, the board cannot deliberate or take action on items that are not listed on a properly posted agenda. That's part of the Texas Open Meetings Act. The board chair may refer certain matters to the superintendent for review or may place them on a future agenda for formal discussion. This is your opportunity to address the board, but public comment is not a question and answer session. Those who have signed up in advance will have the opportunity to speak this evening. When you speak, please introduce yourself, describe your connection with NYOS. At this time, we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people signed up to speak. If you would please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Nina is going to serve as our timekeeper, and she's going to display signs to let you know when your time has ended. We listen carefully. Every board member listens carefully, and every comment is taken into consideration, even if you do not get an immediate response tonight. Thank you for your cooperation, and we're ready to begin. Our first speaker tonight is Mr. Mark Garcia. Evening, Mark.
I want to raise 2 governance items tonight, both about documents that are supposed to tell parents how the school is run and where it is going. The first is the bylaws. The 2024 amendments this board adopted do not appear in the Texas Education Agency's public charter portal as either approved or pending. And the bylaws themselves say the amendments take effect only upon approval by the Commissioner of Education. That language is in the document this board adopted, so it's not mine. So I'm asking directly, have the 2024 amendments been submitted to TEA? If yes, when? And what is the current status? If no, or if the TEA has not approved them, then under the bylaws' own terms, has NYOS been operating under amendments that are not yet in effect? Which version is the governing document tonight? Parents shouldn't have to file a Public Information Act to find out which version of the bylaws control how decisions at the school are made. The second item is the 5-year strategic plan. The strategic plan is a commitment to the community. This was created back a few years ago by the Bloom Group. It has measurable goals, annual progress checks. So when was it last presented to the public in an open meeting? Where can a parent read the current version? And what is the schedule for the next updates to the families? These are not gotcha questions. The bylaws and the strategic plan are the 2 documents most parents would point to if asked, how does NYOS govern itself and where it is going? If either is in an unclear state, families deserve to know. Thank you for your time and for your service to the school.
Thank you, Mark. Our next speaker will be Andy Savener. Andy, quick question.
Yes, sir.
I have an Andy Savener and an Andrew Savener.
I believe I got signed up twice by mistake.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name's Andrew Savener. I have a child here at NYOS. I want to put one fact on the public record this evening. and ask the board one specific question about it. The fact, while Dr. Alan Seay, S-E-A-Y, served as NYOS's interim executive director from February through June of 2024, his name and photograph were also listed publicly on the corporate website of Dynamic Support Solutions, DSS, as their special advisor school leadership. That is not a rumor. It is on the firm's company and teams page alongside the firm's CEO. His DSS biography names NYOS as one of the schools where he served as interim leader. So my question, DSS later received contracts from NYOS, one ratified December 2024 and another approved July 2025. So my question, during Dr. C's interim tenure at NYOS, was that concurrent advisory role at DSS disclosed to this board on the open session record, in a written conflict of interest filing, in board minutes, in any document parents can see? I'm not asking the board to characterize what was discussed in the executive session. I'm asking whether or not the disclosure exists in any record that is or could become public. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Andrew. Our next speaker will be Susie Ferguson.
Good evening. My name is Susie Ferguson, and I have two children, one in elementary and one in high school, attending NYOS. I want to ask the board about a single line on a public document, the school's most recent IRS Form 990 filed in May 2025. That filing covers July 2023 through June 2024. It lists Dr. Alan Seay as interim executive director, working 40 hours a week. And in every compensation column on that form, his pay is reported as $0. A person doesn't run a $20 million public school full-time for nothing. The 0 on the 990 means he was paid through some other entity, Leadership for School, Dynamic Support Solution, somewhere. But that intermediary doesn't appear on the form either, including in the section that lists contractors paid more than $100,000. The same 990 answers no to the question of whether the school had a business transaction with a current or former officer or key employee. These are documents this board is responsible for approving, so I'd like to ask, did the full board review the 2023 Form 990 before it was filed? And if so, how were those specific answers, the 0 and the no to line 28A, discussed? Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you, Susie. Next will be Bonnie Garza.
Whoa. Good evening. My name is Bonnie Garza. I am a special education advocate, and not limited to special education. I represent children who have learning differences, emotional differences, and also functional differences, and need services in public schools. I do want to tell you I am a former Texas Education Agency employee. I was in the Division of Compliance, where we monitored school districts across Texas for special education compliance. And then I was in one of 4 investigators on in the Complaints Division, also for special education complaints. And in that arena, and for 10 years, I learned how to read the law very well. So what I'm here to talk about is an objection on the public record to the board's decision to hear the level 3 grievance in a closed session. I'm here representing Elizabeth Zimmerman in that regard. I object to the interpretation of Texas Government Code Section 551.082B, which gives the parent the right to request an open hearing on written request when the grievance involves the parent's own child. B actually overrides A, which means A states that this chapter does not require the school board to conduct an open hearing, but B overrides A. The two exceptions.
Ms. Garza, your 2 minutes are up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Our next speaker will be Emily Domashk.
Hi, y'all. I'm Emily Domashk. I'm a parent of 2 kids here at NYOS. I have a junior and a 5th grader who's about to come to middle school. And I'd like to ask the board about a single word in your own December 10th, 2024 minutes. On that date, the board voted on item 5B to ratify and approve expenditures and DSS audit support contract as to be amended. That word ratify is significant. Ratification means the board is approving a contract that was already signed and money that was already spent. It means Dynamic Support Solutions had been engaged, was already doing work, and had already been paid before any open vote. I'm not asking who at NYOS made that initial decision. I'm asking this board, who, by your own records, authorized DSS to begin work and to be paid before the December vote. And what did the phrase "as to be amended" cover? What were the amendments the board ultimately approved? If DSS started work under administration approval alone, parents would benefit from knowing the dollar threshold above which administration is required to come to the board before signing, and whether the pre-vote DSS work was within that threshold. These are answerable questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Domashk.
And with the remaining time, can I finish? Ms. Martinez, can I finish what you were saying? Can I finish what you had? Show me where to.
No,
Well, I
No.
have 53 seconds left.
I didn't.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Elizabeth Zimmerman.
Hey y'all, I'm Elizabeth Zimmerman. I have 2 children enrolled at NYOS. I want to ask the board about the relationship between 2 of your votes from late 2024. On November 19th of that year, in a special meeting, this board accepted the FY 2024 audit conditionally, and I'm quoting from your own minutes. Subject to completion of the procurement testing in light of the corrective action plan and review by the board. 3 weeks later, on December 10th, the board ratified a contract with DSS, Dynamic Support Solutions, for audit support for work that had already been done. So the question I'd ask respectfully was the corrective action plan referenced on November 19th distributed to all members of this board before the December 10th vote? And was the DSS audit support engagement understood to be the corrective action? That is DSS the firm being paid to fix what your independent auditor flagged? If so, parents have a right to see that plan, to see the procurement testing findings that triggered it, and to understand what DSS was retained to do. If not, the December engagement is even more in need of explanation. Thank you so much for your time and for what you do for our school.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. Next, Robin Adams.
Hi, my name is Robin Adams, and I'm a NYOS parent. I want to ask the board about an event that took place on October 24th, 2025, about 6.5 months ago. On that day, this board posted a formal notice of school board training, a category of meeting separate from a regular board meeting. The notice listed a single item, NYOS board training with Dr. Alan C., held from 9 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon at Education Service Center, Region 13 on Springdale Road. That training took place 16 months after Dr. C's interim tenure at this school had ended, and while he was still publicly listed as special advisor at DSS. So, was Dr. C compensated for that day of training? And if so, by NYOS paid through which entity, himself individually, Leadership for School, or DSS? Was the engagement governed by a written contract, an invoice, or did it sit under an existing vendor relationship? I'm not asking whether the training was useful. I'm asking whether the financial relationship between Dr. Say and our school continued past his interim role and through what entity any money flowed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robin. Our next speaker, M.A. McGee. Is that you, Ms. McGee? Yes. Okay. When you're ready.
Good evening, NYOS School Board. I'm Kendra McGee, and I'm a parent and former administrator. My son was hurt on this campus. He's a middle school student injured by a high school student because they were not supervised. For approximately 5 months, small oversight, that is not a paperwork issue. That is 5 months without properly ensuring students and staff are prepared for emergencies. 5 months where the adults responsible for campus safety failed to carry out one of the most basic obligations of school leadership, school safety. And that failure did not happen in isolation. At the same time, NYOS told parents on January 20th that an after-school sweeps and supervision protocol were in place to ensure students remaining on campus were monitored for safety. But when my son was attacked by a high school student on January 20th, that after-school, was attacked on February 19th, he was unsupervised. Dr. Rosa suggested the sweeps protocol was something new for NYOS. However, that characterization is inconsistent with my experience as a former administrator here. After-school sweeps were in place last school year and at the start of this school year until I was terminated. I personally conducted those sweeps. I was seen and heard directing students to the middle school building and even recorded 4:15 and 1:15 end-of-day announcements directing students to report after dismissal. That is why the conflicting explanations about whether sweeps happened on February 19th are so concerning. During a meeting with Scott Elder, he said the sweeps did not happen because there was a breakdown in protocol due to staff being out sick. Safety protocols should not stop because staff are out sick. Just like you cover classes when teachers are absent, safety is still expected. Yet there is no documentation, according to Rory Edwards, and both her and Dr. Rosa said that the sweeps did happen on that February 19th. Parents drop off their children and trust that they are safe. Yet here we have 5 months without
Ms. McGee,
required
you get 2
safety
minutes.
drills,
Ms. McGee,
unverified supervision protocols,
everyone gets 2
conflicting
minutes.
explanations, and a child was hurt. The board should be alarmed.
Ms. McGee, please be respectful of public comment. Thank you. Is there anyone signed up or that signed up online that we didn't get to? Oh, there's Will.
Hey, also, Robert, I think my microphone's about to go out. So I don't know if I can take camps or something.
Whenever you're ready, Will.
Sorry, a little distracted. Hi, my name is William Savener. I am a student here. I have been here since kindergarten. My time didn't start. Hashtag. Okay, well, go on. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I am a student here. I have been since kindergarten. When I got to high school, I was placed in the PE homeroom. Fine. I like the PE teacher, Coach Edwards. She's perfectly nice. My complaint here is with our homeroom, and rather the lack of one. Since, I believe, the beginning of this year, we have been without an actual room to call a homeroom. We have been floating between locations like the gym, rooms in middle school, and rooms in high school. It's become somewhat of a challenge and somewhat of a distraction from average day classes when you have to wonder, where am I going to end up in an hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Earlier this year, this issue was brought up with Dr. Rosas at Snacks with the Superintendent. It never got followed up on. We never heard back. We never got a homeroom. Now, the room that used to be our homeroom has been converted to Mr. Schmee's room after an incident containing black mold. But if that room could have easily been converted this whole time, then why wasn't it? Why are we without a homeroom when extra rooms are available? That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Okay, that concludes our public comment portion. The next thing we are going to do is move on to new business members. Okay, item 5A is discuss and vote on contracts over 50,000. Members, we're going to switch the order up here, and what we're going to do is a quick recognition. That way we can have that little ceremony real quick, and we're going to recognize the watchdogs.
So if we have any watchdogs with us tonight, we want them to come up to the stage, and we also want to ask Dr. Pesta to join us. We had members of the watchdogs really beef up their presence this year, and Dr. Pesta also led this work this year, and we want to appreciate her for all of her efforts. Please join us on the stage. Board President Nina Laura is
She's
gonna
calling
join
y'all
us as
up.
well.
Thanks, Jason.
Nina, don't sit down yet. We also want to appreciate our senior student board member who is graduating. So members of our audience, you may or may not know that we traditionally have 2 student members on our board, and we started last year making sure that our members are members of our student council, and Mark Struby, who's a member, staff member of our board who leads our student council, we always make sure that we have a junior and a senior member of the student council, and they matriculate up. And so Tammy is our senior member who's graduating this year. And Camp will move into our senior slot, and we'll have a junior member who will be joining us this next year. And so we're so proud of you, Tammy, and thank you for being a member of our board. Go to, oh, I'm moving the wrong way. Sorry. Now we can go to new business.
Now we can go to new business. All right, 5A is discuss and vote on contracts over $50,000 for school year 26-27.
We only have one contract, which is for our federal, state, and competitive grants. And that is with Catalyst, which is one of our outsourced contracts that we have. And so that we've used them for, I think, a year and a half or a little over a year and a half. It's very hard to find somebody who supports both federal and state for compliance and also implementation, and then competitive grants as well. We've been very happy with their services, and so we want to continue using them.
And if I'm clear, that Financial Oversight Committee did review this contract, am I right?
Yes.
Do y'all have any comments? Okay, so we can entertain a motion to approve the contract for Catalyst Federal Programs and Grants. Can we get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Nina? And Hassan was at the second. All in favor? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, members. All right, item 5B, discuss and vote on a resolution authorizing the change of depository accounts, authorized check signers, and establishment of a revolving line of credit.
I'm going to ask Matthew May, our COO, to join us at the podium to discuss this.
Hello, good evening. So NYOS is recommending a change from Frost Bank to Texas Capital Bank as our main depository bank. And I did put up there some benefits, which you can see on the screen. So some of you may know that as a business, we pay per transaction that is processed through the school. And so in looking at cost savings, Texas Capital did a comparison, and part of that changeover is an average savings of $4,272 each year. In those fees and other processes that we had to pay for. They also offer a higher yield earnings credit that you can see on the screen as well. 90% versus Frost 60%, which will help offset some of our treasury service fees. Some additional benefits includes additional fraud protection, such as positive pay, ACH filters, payee matching. It also includes dedicated treasury support, implementation assistance, and staff training. It also offers better audit compliance. The way that the treasury system is set up, we're able to pull individual transactions where we're not able to do that now. And so we're recommending transitioning from Frost Bank to Texas Capital to improve our operational efficiency.
I was just going to ask if you had any questions for Matthew.
How does this affect, because we do have outstanding loans with Frost, is that correct?
If I can address it on the next slide.
Okay. I'll hold my question.
Okay.
All right, again, another issue that the Financial Oversight Committee did review this as well, right? So if there's any further questions for Matthew on 5B, we can get a motion to approve the resolution authorizing change of depository accounts, authorized check signers, and establishment of a revolving line of credit.
Actually, before we do it, can we go?
Yeah, can we
You wanna do both?
Yeah, can we answer the question before?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
If we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Because part of this is also a revolving line of credit. And so Texas Capital is going to offer a $500,000 line of revolving credit that can be used for financial flexibility, short-term liquidity support. What is it? It's basically a pre-approved borrowing facility that NYOS can access as needed. The Financial Oversight Committee will set what the rules and regulations are for that, but part of the resolution is that part of this, we're getting this revolving line of credit. And so it'll just help strengthen our financial position. If any emergency expenditures come up, we don't have to use cash. We can actually use this line of credit versus using our cash.
What is our current loan that we have with Frost? Don't we currently have a loan with Frost?
We do currently have a loan. And part of, on the next one, is that we're refinancing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but refinancing with?
Texas Capital.
With Texas Capital?
Yep.
Okay. So changing banks wouldn't affect our position necessarily on that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Matthew on 5B? Okay. Can we get a motion to approve the resolution for 5B, authorizing change of depository accounts, authorized check signers, and establishment of a revolving line of credit?
So moved.
We've got a motion by Hassan. Can we get a second? David, and all in favor, members? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, on 5C, I Guess we'll keep Matthew at the mic. Discuss and vote on a resolution to authorize the superintendent and designees to take all necessary actions to refinance the bank loan.
Yeah, so the next slide shows our refinance options. So some of you may not know, but our Frost loan, which is on the far right of the screen, our current loan, we originally got a loan for $7 million in 2016. And at the end of that 10-year rate was a balloon payment. So NYOS would have to pay $4 million to close out this loan. Instead of doing that, we looked at doing a refinancing, and we looked at 3 different banks, 2 different banks, and then EFF, which EFF may sound familiar because they do hold our current debt for the new building construction. And so Texas Capital was the one that came in with the best rates. As you can see up there, I highlighted it in green just so you can kind of see what items we were looking at when we were reviewing. And so our recommendation is to move forward with Texas Capital for the refinancing of the original Frost loan, so NYOS does not have to pay a $4 million balloon payment.
And
So this was the loan taken out in conjunction with the bonds to pay for the buildings and all the upgrades that were done, correct?
This was for the land and some building improvements in
Thank you.
2016. Yep.
And we were never, you were here, we were never intending to pay the balloon payment, so this refinance was the plan all along. One, making sure we found ourselves in a position to be able to do that refinancing, correct? Okay. Members, any further questions for Matthew on 5C? Okay, if not, can we get a motion to approve the resolution to authorize superintendent and designees to take all necessary actions to refinance the bank loan?
So moved.
Motion by Nina and a second by Ally. Members, all in favor? All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item 6, board advocacy.
Okay, as you know, board members, we always talk about board advocacy every month. As a reminder, Ben and I meet with TPCSA, which is the Texas Public Charter School Association, and right now they are looking at, they're looking at the 9 session priorities. Advocacy continues to focus on 3 consistent pillars: defense, flexibility, and funding. In the red, you'll see the fortify and defend, which is our baseline priority. It's to protect charter autonomy and block harmful legislation. So we had a great win for facilities funding in the 89th legislative session. TPCSA will focus on blocking harmful legislation, particularly bills that are unfairly targeted charters. An ongoing risk is for the Texas State Board of Education to have authority over charter expansion. So this would create significant red tape and barriers to growth of charter schools. And so they'll continue to look at those and ensure they don't advance. In the blue, you'll see the freedom and flexibility. Our focus is to prevent new mandates and roll back burdens where possible. There's a push for parity with ISDs, including crossing guard authority that came up the last legislative session. So ISDs have statutory authority to implement them. Charters currently do not. There's also flexibility in hiring non-degreed CTE experts. So ISDs can hire experienced professional, such as expert welders, to teach non-core courses without a degree, and charters do not have that same flexibility. The goal is to align so that charters can access the same tools as ISDs. In the green, you'll see facilities funding, which is a continued focus on expanding access to facilities. So they're exploring several options, and then address TRS contributions. So there are several inequities. Charters pay more relative to ISDs, and they do have a one-pager on their website, which I thought was very interesting. The TRS system, and in case you didn't know, manages pension funds for public school employees across Texas. Statute indicates that public schools should be treated equitably and how contributions are applied. So charters pay 2% on full salaries, while ISDs pay 2% on the minimum salary schedule, and so this results in charters paying over $8 million annually, which means charter schools are paying more for the same system. And so this matters because there's a difference in millions of additional charters, additional costs for charters annually, which could go back to our teachers, to our programs, and of course to our students. And so their advocacy is seeking to align so charters and ISDs are treated the same in TRS contributions. Right now we're in the interim, and the interim period where committees study issues, they shape future legislation. So these are early indicators of the direction of the upcoming legislative session. The Senate Education Committee is focused on school partnerships and external influences, enrollment shifts, and right-sizing schools, which is aligning the size and use of schools with actual student enrollment. And they're looking at a study of the 4-day school week. The House Public Education Committee is looking at teacher recruitment and retention, educator misconduct, expansion of high-performing schools, and streamlining regulations. There are several others that they'll be following: property tax and local government. PIFs will be reviewing TRS, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then government oversight is looking at transparency, use of public funds, oversight of education foundations. And so our roles as board members is to stay informed, which, like I said, Ben and I do. We will be meeting with them, I think, this week to meet some of our lawmakers, which we've also done, and look at the priorities of charter schools. And my goal is to have NYOS's voice in those conversations, and so that's why we do this work. And that's all I have.
Thank you for the update, Nina. We're going to move on to the item 7, the superintendent update. Dr. Rosa.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, members of the board and members of our community. As you know, I like to celebrate our students and our community. The most recent Jiggy winner is Ms. Devia's first grade class. Ms. Devia's class has made incredible growth this year. Students have built strong routines, positive relationships, and a classroom community centered on kindness, perseverance, and respect. Each day, they continue to grow academically and socially while supporting and encouraging one another. Their hard work, teamwork, and joyful learning truly shine, and we are so proud of all they have accomplished together. Elementary students were able to watch our baby chicks grow. They loved checking on them and watching their progress. Kindergarten students celebrated Arbor Day on April 24th with hands-on experience planting a fig tree on campus. Celebrating our secondary students, a few highlights from Alice in Wonderland play. The Friday show had 144 4th grade and 5th graders come watch the middle school play. Senior Decision Day took place on May the 1st, a time when graduating seniors celebrate their plans for life after high school, whether that's college, career, or military service. The high school ASL students visited our 3rd grade classrooms. Our older students did an amazing job teaching basic American Sign Language, and our 3rd graders were fully engaged. It was a meaningful experience for everyone involved, building connections, fostering inclusion, and celebrating the joy of learning together. This is one of the many benefits of being a pre-K through 12 campus, opportunities for our students to learn from one another, build relationships across grade levels, and grow together as a community. Thank you to our ASL students for being such thoughtful leaders and role models. NYOS won first place in the Texas State University Guitar Competition. Congratulations. So we always like to remind everyone of some of those events that are coming ahead. We often say that dates are closer than they appear. Last Jagbuck Shopping Day is Friday, May 15th. We have an elementary early release day for those end-of-year conferences, May 20th and through May 22nd. We have pre-K and 5th grade graduation, Thursday, May 21st. Pre-K is from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 5th grade is from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Secondary graduation and last day of school, Friday, May 22nd, 2026. The graduation is at 7 p.m. at Grant Crosswork Community Church. I'm very excited to welcome to the microphone Dr. Thelma Bello to present and talk to the board about what our Family Leadership Council has accomplished. She's going to give us a report.
Good evening, board members, staff, parents, and students. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve the school and to briefly talk about the objective of the FLC, the Family Leadership Council. So the Family Leadership Council is a representative group of PK to 12 families, and we're supposed to work directly with the school staff to ensure that information is passed across from the parents to the school executive. We consist of 8 members spread across kindergarten, elementary, middle school, and high school. So 2 parents for each of these levels. So we have 4 different levels, and we have 2 parents for each of them. We're supposed to meet monthly, and we've only met twice. So we're going to meet again March 20th. And the purpose of the meetings were to discuss again everything happening in the school in terms of what impacts the parents and the kids. And then we're going to let the school know what's going on, and the parents will also let us know what to tell the school, and the school says, okay, this is what we're going to do about it. So at the first meeting, we had the first meeting in March, and we had another one in April, and we're going to have the last one in May, on May 20th to be precise. So at the first meeting, we discussed the following. We introduced ourselves, we got to know ourselves, and we discussed the agreements that should govern the council. So agreements such as mutual respect, having an open mind, and just communicating properly. So those are the things we talked about. There are a lot of agreements, but I just mentioned a few of them. We also discussed the options for how information can be passed across us and the school and the parents. And there are a lot of options we talked about, but one of them is like having an email, an FLC email that parents could email and say, okay, I have this problem, do something about it. And then we're going to make sure that we have members of the FLC team representative on the PTAs. So whatever is discussed on the PTAs and the school needs to know about it, the members who are part of the PTAs will bring the information to FLC meeting. We also talked about the Spanish bilingual program at that meeting. We discussed the data sets for the schools, so talking about the number of students we have, how many students do we need, how many teachers do we need, what are the vacancies that need to be dealt with. And that was at the first meeting. So at the second meeting, we discussed the following. The same thing, data sets on enrollment. So we talked about the enrollments across the different levels. And we talked about the teachers that need to be hired. We also talked about, hiring background checks. One of the parents who is a member of the FLC also works in elementary, junior group. It's not a college, but it's a different group. But they do have a different set of background checks. So we're just discussing what are the options. Is the state going to mandate public schools to ensure that they follow that system? So we stopped at that because we haven't heard anything from the state yet. So we're not going to worry about what might not exist. We also talked about the graduation ceremony. And they were talking about the options, the open opportunities to have more students in some of the high schools, I think grade 9 and 10. And we talked about how we can use our graduation ceremony to kind of showcase who we are. And I said, I've been to a number of graduation ceremonies, and I've noticed that kids are, they write the schools that the children are going to, and parents are saying, oh, NYOS kids don't go to UT, they don't go to Ivy Leagues. And I said, that's not true, they do. So even if we list those schools that our graduates are going to these schools, and parents and their friends who come can actually see that, okay, NYOS is really a good school academically, because at the higher school, parents are just worried about, I want my kid to go to college. That's their main concern. So they're concerned about the academic standard at that level. We also talked about more recognition for teachers. I know there's a one day for 1 month for teacher, but we're saying maybe they should think about having it every month. Let's recognize a teacher every month. So something to do to just give recognition and appreciate our wonderful teachers that we have at NYOS. And we also talked about screen time. Like the elementary kids are spending too much time on the screen. And if you read the news, a whole lot is going on. So something needs to be done about it. And we just, we haven't arrived at anything, but we're just kind of saying something should be done about screen time at NYOS. And we also talked about handwriting. Like, kids don't learn handwriting again. It still matters, and it's not their fault. Even my daughter is in college right now, and she never was taught handwriting. So I kind of forced her during summer to do that. So we talked about handwriting, how we can bring that back into the classroom, no matter how little, because they still need to write at some point in time. I think that's what we discussed. We're going to have another meeting on May 20th, and that wraps up the school year. Thank you very much, and thank you, board members, for all that you do.
Ms. Bello, or Dr. Bello, apologies.
Thank you, sir.
That was a lot for 2 meetings. That was a lot of content. Did you like it? The FLC was a new thing that started this year. Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, I think I do. I like it.
If it continued, is that something you would either like being on, or would you be a person that's out there recommending that parents sign up to join that?
I would recommend that parents sign up. We really need to get feedback from parents.
Okay, positive thing then. Right.
That's it.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Bello.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to have our COO, Matthew May, discuss our staffing. And then after him, Dr. Simmons is going to provide a special report on the State of the Union on special programs here at NYOS.
Hello again. Update on staffing. Attendance had a slight decrease. We went from 96.76% to 96.39%. Fill rates, again, I'm showing these by month so that it's easy to kind of look at versus by week. And so we did see in March 76.56 and then April 68.18. And for secondary in March, we were 70.69 and April 60.35. Retention, district detention, a slight decrease again, 86.15 to 85.47. Teacher retention, also 94.63 last month to 94.37. And again, that is from July to May, May 9th. Last year, district retention was 85% and teacher retention was 91.24%. So we do have an increase from last year. And that's all I have.
Thank you. So the board asked for Dr. Simmons to provide us a report about special programming for the district. And so thank you, Dr. Simmons, for being with us tonight.
Thank you. I'm excited to share just some highlights from SPED this year. It will actually be SPED 504 and EB. And as I reflect on this year, none of it's would be possible if not for all of these people that I've listed on this slide, because it has been a year of lots of processes and procedures being put in place and being trained on, lots of things that we were refining, and I'll go over that shortly, but none of it we would not gotten the work done had it not been for everybody on this slide. So I just really appreciate everybody. So of course we don't have the STAR test yet from, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself. Right now, these are our current numbers for special programs, and so, and it changes all the time. So for special education, we have 250 students, and then you can see the demographics. For Section 504, we have 199, and emergent bilingual, we have 424. So you can see the demographics on that. All right. All right, here's the STAR performance for last spring, because we haven't received the performance yet for this year. But I think it's just really notable to look at, if you just give it a once-over, to see where our students, and this first one is special education, where they are in comparison with the state averages, or the state cutoffs, I guess I should say. So you can see that most of our are above the state, and then science for masters, and then social studies, we're a little bit below. But overall, our students in special ed are achieving those state standards set by TEA. TEA doesn't track necessarily the 504 students like they do the special education, but this gives you the information on how our students who are receiving Section 504 services and how they're achieving as well. And then we also have the information about our emergent bilingual students. Again, you can see that a lot of them are achieving above what the state average is, except in that master's for the science test and then social studies. Just to kind of give you an idea, this slide, that's okay. Just to give you an idea of kind of what our population looks like, we have 29 students who receive only speech therapy, and so these are their instructional arrangements for our kiddos. We have 56 students who are mainstream, so they don't receive any type of related service or pull-out service. They receive all of their services in the general education classroom. And then a 41 means that a student is pulled out, receiving some type of special education services, less than 21% of their day. And so we have 135 students in that setting. And then we have 24 students who are receiving pull-out services between 21 and 50% of their day. And then, I put the 43 and 44 together because it's such a small group. These are our students who receive a majority of their instruction in a self-contained classroom. Okay. Sorry for that slide, it was a little off. Also, I can't have a highlight without talking about the number of ARDs that we hold. And so last year, and this was an interesting number when we actually calculated everything with the ARD facilitator, the special ed coordinator. Last year, we did 420 ARDs, but that included 37 unnecessary ARDs. This year, when I got the numbers a couple of weeks ago, we were at 420 ARDs again, and that included the initial revision and annual ARDs only. So we do hold a lot of ARDs compared to the 250 kiddos that we have. The other thing is evaluations. And so this year, we completed 49 initial evaluations, and we also completed 84 three-year reevaluations, and I also included all the special request evaluations that we get. So looking at next year already, we are already ready to go on evaluations. We already have 26 initial evaluations in the pipeline. And then next year, we have 46 reevals. So, and then that doesn't include all the special requests that we get, like for functional behaviors assessment or maybe a speech only or speech evaluation. So I know this is a lot on the slide, but I was trying to think of the main things that we did this year. We did a lot this year. A lot of it was driven by our corrective action plan from 24-25. So we finally got that closed out successfully. But it included a lot of things that we had to do and a lot of staff training. We had to write procedures for almost everything that we were doing and submit it. So I was real excited when that happened. So yes, Dr. Rosas can attest to that, the stress of doing that. We also closed out a state performance corrective action plan, or we call it a CAP. And this was from 23-24, so we got that. So a lot of our evaluation processes, which is number 3 on the list, came out of that, out of the corrective action and the SPP 11 corrective action plan. And so we had to develop some workflows and procedures so that we wouldn't miss any more deadlines for initial evaluations and not miss any initial ARD meetings for those initials. provided the standards-based and individualized education plan training. It's so funny to have it all written out, but we always talk in so many acronyms in special ed, so it throws me off. And so all of our case managers have received this training from Region 13, and that was part of our CAP as well, and that helped improve the development of IEPs. We also provided transition training to all of our secondary case managers from Region 13, and this is part of State Performance Plan Indicator 13 compliance, in making sure that our case managers know how to complete that paperwork for the IEP meetings. We did an Education Assistant Academy to build capacity for them. We were lucky enough to work with Human Resources and the Vector training that our annual video training provider. They had a whole series for education assistants, and so we were able to roll that out for the year for them. As part of the corrective action plans, I also wrote the operating guidelines for special education, and so we were able to roll that out as well. We also, with that, and I didn't put it on here for some reason, but we also have an ARD guide for our case managers that walks them through how to fill out the paperwork in our special education management software, so that they know how, what goes here and what goes there and where they should get that information. And so it's very detailed on how to fill out that paperwork. We developed some standard operating procedures for the principals and case managers. So we've been writing SOPs all year long. And so that's been a lot of fun because I like that kind of work, so that's been fun. We also formalized our 504 processes in writing. So we have our workflow, so anybody could just walk in and see, oh, this is exactly what you have to do to do these. We made sure that we were doing 504 evaluations and proper notice and things like that. So we have all that documented now. Oh yes, and then it's getting further down on the slide. We were able to also work with Human Resources to add some basic training for all staff. And so now, as part of the annual training, we have a special education, kind of a special education 101, the dyslexia training, and a section 504 for annual staff training, just to remind them of kind of the basic laws that fall underneath them. We also established a process for parent referrals for Section 504 and special education to make that process a lot easier for parents. And then we transitioned to same goal to improve our education plans, and it has really made an impact on just our data in PEIMS, which is amazing since they talk back and forth. So our TEA reporting has become so much easier. And then we refined our documentation procedures, so documenting the IEP services that are in IEPs and how we document that to be sure that we are providing the services that are written in the IEP. And that's it. Thank you so much.
I have a 420 ARDs. The mind cannot calculate on top of all the other items. I just appreciate your professionalism and the uncalculable hours that you have put into this work. I really appreciate it on behalf of NYOS, for both you and your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do have a question about
I'm sorry.
the ARDs.
Yes.
Can you explain what an ARD is and what an unnecessary ARD is?
Yes, I should, yes. And so an ARD meeting is an admission review dismissal committee for the IEP. It is the committee that meets on the IEPs. So when I say unnecessary ARDs, we're not required to do like a transition ARD. Like we could do those as staff meetings. And so instead of a full-blown ARD, when a kid is moving from 5th grade to 6th or 8th to 9th, we can do that typically through a staffing, unless we need to make changes to something, then we can do it through a revision ARG. But before, they were doing all transition ARGs, and so on top of, 420 already, and that we're trying to get them done in between all the breaks. I mean, we're running 6 ARGs a day to try to get things like that done. The other one was for what we call, it's called an SOP, but it's a summary of performance for those students who are in 12th grade. And so we could do that outside the ARG, but before they were scheduling them and just having ARGs for all of that. And so,
Thank you.
yep.
We actually don't have governance on our agenda tonight. So instead of governance, actually, you can go back to governance. Instead of governance, I put the Leadership Transition Committee on our agenda. And so an update on that for the board members, the Leadership Transition Committee has begun its work. We met last week. We are preparing to post the executive director / superintendent position. We anticipated this week initially. I think it's probably going to be next week. The job description is currently under review. We're reviewing it, and we will share with the full board prior to posting. The committee also discussed interim leadership options, that's internal and external, and will continue refining the work plan and timeline at our next meeting, which is this week. We plan to share additional information about the process and next steps on the school's website, consistent with the approach that we used during the prior leadership transition. Committee members, if I missed anything, please add. Okay, that's my update.
We can move on to academic oversight.
Financial oversight.
We actually have academic oversight on our agenda, I think.
Got it.
Okay. Are there slides?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, great. We have a special treat tonight because we're going to have, actually, I think Dr. Pesta and Dr. Rosa share our academic oversight update for the board. So we had decided that because we had done our winter interims, what feels like ages ago, now that we have finished our STAR testing for the year, that we would have Dr. Pesta and originally Ms. Edwards do that report.
So as a review, we framed our AOC updates, and we had already decided what would we be sharing each month. And so for AOC, we were always answering these same questions. What does success look like for this goal area? Are we doing against our goal? Are we on track? Why? What are we doing in response? And so for May, we were looking at goals 1 and 2 and looking at the interim assessment data, which was looking at the winter interim and looking at math and ELA. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Pesta, who will talk about elementary, and I'll represent Ms. Edwards for secondary. Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't really love presenting on this part right here because I know how much growth we've made. So for the second interim, we expected a large increase in scores, and we saw the opposite. To be very honest, we dug really deep into our math scores to figure out why, and the scope and sequence that we follow was different than what the state scope and sequence was, so we hadn't taught an entire unit yet for our students, which is the majority of the questions that they did not perform successfully on. And so math was one that we have seen huge gains. Oh, there's a different slide for that. When it comes to growth on math, I think. And so right now, this does not look as promising as the diagnostic scores look right now as we finish out our end of year diagnostics for our students, K through 5. So we were on track in one area. We have shown, as Dr. Simmons had showed, that our special education population is growing immensely when it comes to their scores as well. So we're seeing that increase. It's not necessarily represented on here, though, when it comes to the interims. But if we keep going, so this is kind of how we responded to it, and this is from back in January, February, we made all these changes. The one thing that we really started to do was looking at structuring our WIN groups. We had our WIN groups structured by our diagnostics and different gaps within the diagnostic results. What we did was we changed those up to be specific to the STAR transition tables, but also specific STAR address TEKs and the frequency those TEKs were asked, and we really focused in on the ones that we knew our kids were really struggling on. And so it wasn't necessarily skill-based anymore. We focused on TEKs that we knew our kids needed to work on. Our intervention teachers, which Mr. Ward was an amazing partner in this, started co-teaching in classrooms with high needs. Instead of them pulling specific groups, they pushed into the classrooms and started co-teaching and pulling small groups within those classes that we knew our teachers were either needing extra support or they had specific needs within the class. For example, one class had a higher emergent bilingual population, so we had teacher or interventionists push in to support them. Our Boys and Girls Club was offering to support us during the day as well. So one of their leads from the actual campus, a director of the learning support from Boys and Girls Club, is a certified teacher. She worked for many years as a teacher. She offered to come in and work with students 2 times a week during our WIN time to get an extra group of interventions in. And so she supported 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and she supported groups of 7 or 8 students in each grade level for math 2 times a week. We added in spiral reviews using the Lohman resource that we had a little bit throughout the year here and there, but once we noticed on our interims that our students understand the concept, it's just the application on the STAR question and addressing the question and how that looks. We knew that we needed to expose them to more of those STAR-like questions so they knew what they were looking at. And so they did daily STAR review with Lohman. They did a daily STAR question, breaking it apart. We offered a spring break camp for students so that we could look at specific groupings and address certain kids that we knew were so close or just had small gaps that we could fill in that week time. We definitely did, like I said, a deep data analysis on our high focus groups, found those low performing TEKs, the ones that we knew that we were going to have to address, and so we pulled those TEKs out and we restructured basically 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades math blocks to make sure that they were addressing the TEKs that we knew we needed to be addressed. And then, I'm trying to read that last one. Oh yeah, the math and RLA blocks we restructured to have intentional small group instruction. So we made sure that the whole group instruction time was limited, and then the rest of that time was whole group instruction or small group instruction. And even today was our first day for kindergarten and 1st grade. And even though they are not a STAR tested grade level, hearing them talk about the opportunities that they had to meet with their small groups, I mean, seeing kids every single day to even twice a day in small groups because the way we restructured was really beneficial. I wish we had a slide on our diagnostics. We just finished our diagnostics for end of year for math and reading. And in 1st grade, we have 1 student out of 144 below grade level. So they have made huge gains on our iReady diagnostics. And it looks the same for 4th and 5th grade. There is 1 teacher in 5th grade, her 36 kids, she has 1 below grade level. So they really, really made huge gains in iReady, and I am so excited to see the STAR scores based on that. So.
Thank you, Dr. Presta. Of the things that you all did to adjust in response to the data, I know that the NYOS way is not to teach to the test, right? And it's not just about STAR, although we have to pay attention to it. What are the things that you feel like you would want the teachers on the campus to keep doing?
Yeah, great question. I think the one thing that we really, there's an analogy that I heard at a conference, our kids can do the skills. We know they can. We're seeing them every single week mastering the skills because we're standard-based. What they're not seeing is how the question is being asked. And so we really need to expose them to the way that the question's going to be asked and multiple different ways to ask the same standard. And I think that's where we need to continue. And even talking with teachers, we're already starting plans for next year and pacing. Their concerns were, how do I start this sooner so that my kids can see what the question's gonna ask? The curriculum and the diagnostics, the questions don't look anything like STAR. So we have to intentionally put those pieces in to make sure that we're exposing them. I think that one's really intentional that we had to do, and using Lohman, which is STAR style questions. I think the other thing, as we've talked about in data days so far, is our flexible WIN groups and moving students based on need. Our 1st grade team was to be honest, a little reserved using our new win structure, and hearing them talk about the changes that their kids made was incredible today. So I think if we continue with the win groups in the way that it's by student need and that flexible grouping, not just in our blocks like we always do, but really during win time, and exposing them to STAR style looking questions really makes the difference.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Pesta.
Thank you.
All right, so I will do my best to represent for Dr. Edwards. Keep in mind that in elementary, traditionally, students take the interim, which is parsed out by the time of the year, a test that's created by the state of Texas for that time of the year. Whereas in secondary, historically, they choose to take a release STAR test. So if you're taking it in October, you're taking the whole year's STAR test that's been a previously taken test of a different school year. And so what you're looking at was the last release STAR test that they took earlier in the year. And so what we can see is on the left-hand side, a release test that they took in the fall, and then at the bottom you can see a test that they took in the spring, and that's all students who are going to take the state test. And so what we can see is growth in the percentage of students who are going to meet expectations. You see a small decrease in those students who are going to master, and a decrease as well in those who are predicted to approach, and basically staying about the same in those who don't meet. And then you can look by performance by test, in those in the spring by grade level. That was in reading language arts. Going back, you can see reading language arts. And then now we're looking at, you can look at the growth, and you can see on the right-hand side looking at those subpopulations. So you can see what the goal is, and we can see that we're making growth in special education. We took a dip in emergent bilingual, as well as our economically disadvantaged students. And then you can see what steps did we take, what did we do about the data. And what we did was over spring break, we had a camp for the critical needs in both ELA and mathematics. We had additional at-bats or practices for the ECR rubric-based writing. We had additional spiral lessons that focused on editing because that was an area of need. We had Friday interventions focused on TEKs of concern and small group instruction. We began posting interim STAR spiral lesson using Lohman resources and IXL, which is really written in the genre of the test, and daily STAR spirals based on STAR blueprints. Then that was how we responded in secondary.
I want to make sure that we stamp the fact that like all of this data is from January, February. So it is really old data at this point, and we expect to see a lot of growth from there to the STAR and then of course exams.
Yes. Now I'm moving back because I know that we need to go over the rest of the committees.
Yeah, we can go to compensation. Yeah. Okay, we're ready. Okay, so the compensation committee met. We discussed, as always, possible step increases pending a full budget review. We had no recommended changes at this time to stipends or the bereavement policy, though both may be revisited at the next meeting. The committee is also exploring potential adjustments to medical benefits. Our next steps, including finalizing compensation scenarios for review with the Finance Oversight Committee, along with the full budget review that includes staffing and benefit impacts. The goal is to bring a final recommendation to the board in June, and then we also discussed other additional incentives. And that's all.
Any questions for compensation? We can move on to D, financial oversight. Hassan.
Yes, thanks. If you can advance the slide, that'd be great. Matthew covered that the attendance is up a little bit. Enrollment is down slightly, just below what we had budgeted, but the wait list is up, so that's good. Unfortunately, this late in the year, it's going to be hard to fill those types of positions. But when we look at the actual financials, we are up a little bit in cash, and we're hoping to be positive by the end of the year. And overall, you know, we have $4 million in cash, which is, you know, a lot stronger than other districts. And in terms of the financial statements, considering depreciation, we're slightly below. But by the end of the year, we're hoping to show a surplus. That's pretty much it. Any questions?
Any questions for Hassan and FOC? All right, we can move on to the fundraising committee update.
So I have a very brief update. We are preparing for our fall fundraising. We, I believe just tonight signed off on bingo. We had to get a permit so that we could have bingo. There's a lot more involved than you would believe in having a bingo event, but we signed the permit so that we could have that as early in the beginning of the year as possible. It was very successful last year, and it's very hard when the school year starts. It's so unbelievably hot in Texas, and we thought it would be a great event to have at the beginning of the year to welcome in our current families and any new families that we're welcoming in at the beginning of the year. So we picked a tentative date for the first few weeks when school begins to get everyone together where it's nice and cool indoors and there's air conditioning. Let kids run around outdoors if they want to play and see each other again. And so we'll be advertising that date pretty soon so everybody can mark it on their calendar. So that's really our main fundraising announcement for tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rosa. Okay, we're going to move on to the nominations committee. David.
David, so I have a list. We can call up the community members for if you look at your top. Yeah, I think that.
I thought I got told they were just going to line up. All right, community members first then. Okay. Do you want me to call each name out? Okay, so Ali Onley, would you like to address? There you go.
Okay.
I have to stop. There we go.
Hi, my name's Ali Oni. I'm a community member, and I come out of the tech sphere from a professional perspective. I've worked in technology for over 30 years. My main mission and drive to be part of the board is I look at employment opportunities for young people coming out of school. And I think that's a driving force. And the educational foundation they get is a clear determiner of what they have opportunities for and professional perspective. I've been in Austin area for about 6 years. And I am a full-time resident versus someone who used to travel all the time. So I've been to over 50 countries delivering technology, and I'm really excited to call Austin home. Pleased to be considered.
Next is Bob Kahn.
Good evening, Bob Kahn. I applied for the community member position on the board, and I retired in July. I'm happy. My wife says it's great he was retired, but now he's at home. So anyways, I just wanted to try and give something back to the community. I worked in the electric utility industry, and also I'm a lawyer for about the last 45 years. And like I said, I'd like to give back. You have my work experience and resume and bio with you, so I'm not going to go through all that, but I would hope that I could give some positive contribution to the board with my work experience and board experience and leadership fiscal responsibility, strategic planning, governance, all that kind of stuff. Also would hope that I can make a difference in the students' educations and in their life experience. The other thing I'd mention is, while I was at ERCOT, for several years I was chair of the HR and Governance Committee, so I do have experience in hiring board members, hiring leaders that might be useful in the future too. So thanks for your consideration. Any questions or no?
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hassan Al-Tabatabai, community member, former parent member. Both of my kids graduated from NYOS. They went from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. I'm in the office of CTO at Dell and been chair of the finance committee as well as serving on governance, compensation, and leadership committee. Happy to serve another year if you guys can use me.
It's not working. There we go. Mark, sorry.
Hi, my name's Mark Struby. This is my 9th year to teach at NYOS. My wife also teaches here. I have 2 kids that go here. I am the student council advisor. I run part of the journalism program where we do the NYOS News. I'm heavily involved in the NYOS community and I love this school. I came on after the school year started, so kind of like my trial run, so I'm kind of up for re-election, and I appreciate your consideration.
I'm not tall enough for this. Okay, my name is Samantha White. You guys know me. I speak at every board meeting about something. I find something to say. I like to talk. I teach geometry here. You guys know that. This is my first year at NYOS. I hope to be here for a little bit longer at least. We'll see how life goes. I'm going to be honest, I do not remember what I told y'all in my little bio that I sent off like earlier this month. That was this month. I don't remember what happened. It's not important. I want to say, in the days following the very first time I spoke at one of these board meetings, I had coworkers come up to me from so many different departments, so many different grade levels, people I'd literally never even met, to tell me that they wanted me to run for the school board. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't know who you are, though. And so I'm doing it, because clearly something that I'm doing up here is working for people. I'm blunt. My kids tell me all the time, you know, you don't BS people. You don't screw people around. You tell it like it is. And I think that's a good skill to have. I also notice patterns a lot. I know that a lot of people out here like to come to this board as if the board is a proactive kind of group, and the unfortunate thing is that the board is not a proactive group, right? They're a reactive group. But I hope that if I am considered for this position, right, I can bring my very, very good pattern recognition skills, if I do say so myself, to the reactions that we are kind of forced to have to various things happening at the school. And I hope that I can be part of something good over here. Thank you.
I'm on mic. No, there we go. Microphone number 2. You think you got it? Thanks. This is going well. Okay. Going to go on to onto parent members. Ruby Reyes will be the first one on the list. Is he here? No? Okay, moving down to Maddie Woods.
I'm going to put this down low. Good evening. My name is Maddie Wood. I'm applying for the elementary parent position. I proudly serve the school as a school nurse. I mainly work with our secondary students, so I feel like I have a very good perspective of both elementary and secondary because I also have a first grader. So before coming to NYOS, I used to work in a hospital. I was a cardiac telemetry nurse for 6 years. Worked with a lot of COVID patients, and In that time, I will admit that I kind of got burnt out, like a lot of our healthcare workers do in that time period, and I really lost faith in my nursing career for a little bit. And then I decided to take a step forward and apply to something new, and that was NYOS. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Coming here has completely restored my love for nursing, and it's really made me dedicated to this community. And I really would be very grateful to honor and serve this school and give back the love and compassion that was given to me when I lost my direction in my career. They really gave me my passion for my career back, and if I could give anything, even a small percentage of what they gave me back in my happiness, I would. So I also serve as a SHAC member. Unfortunately, I can't serve as the chair or co-chair because I am a staff member, and those two things can't run concurrently. So I would love to give my time and dedication to this one, where I feel like my heart is mostly at. So it'd be an honor. Thank you.
Try now. Okay. Andrea Vega. Is it because I'm...
Hello, my name is Andrea Vega. I'm a mother of 3 and a proud parent of a NYOS 9th grader. I'm new to NYOS. I've known about NYOS since around 2003 under Julie Ashley. At the time, she came to the school I worked at, which was Garza, and she said, hey, if you ever need a job, come to NYOS. Didn't need a job at the time, so just kind of looked at it for my children. Unfortunately, my older children decided to go somewhere else, and much further. They went to Ann Richards, and with 504 supports, they became very successful. We chose NYOS for our son because of the smaller class sizes, the flexibility teachers have to personalize their instruction, and we were also drawn to the diversity of students and staff, as well as some of the course offerings that I think they were listed last time here, and some other personal reasons that he wanted to come here. So professionally, I have experience in the field of education. I hold a master's in education with an emphasis in special education, so I really liked what we talked about here. That was, I love that stuff. With this background, I don't just see a school from a parent's perspective. I understand the mechanics of the classroom, and I have a practical understanding of curriculum standards and the importance of supporting diverse learners. And that's where my strength comes from. When I worked at Garza, I think at the time, I was told almost close to 70% of our student population was receiving 504 or special education services. And this was a long time ago, before a lot of the new laws. What I bring to the board is a comparative perspective. Having served on campus advisory councils in AISD, both as a parent and staff, I've seen firsthand what successfully drive student outcomes in testing and all kinds of academics, and some fundraising, and what pitfalls to avoid. I would like to bring some of these insights to NYOS. I'm not a gatekeeper, so if anyone had questions, said, hey, what worked best, you know, at Ann Richards or Murchison, or that's where my kids have went, or Garza, I'm willing to share. And I believe my professional experience and district level advocacy makes me prepared to serve as a board member, and I'd be honored to do so. So, thank you.
Kendra McGee.
Sorry. Good evening, NYOS School Board. Kendra McGee, proud parent of a current 7th grader and proud former middle school assistant principal. After everything that I have experienced this school year, I am hopeful for the opportunity to continue serving NYOS in a more meaningful and constructive way. I believe that NYOS is in urgent need of steady leadership, strong governance. Oops, sorry. I apologize. Okay, sorry. Okay, I apologize. Let me start over. I do apologize. Good evening. I'm Kendra McGee, proud parent of a current 7th grader and proud former middle school assistant principal. Okay. After everything that I have experienced here, I am hopeful for the opportunity to continue serving this community in a more meaningful and constructive way. I believe that NYOS is in urgent need of steady leadership, strong governance, transparency, accountability, and a renewed commitment to students, families, staff, and community trust. If elected, my intention is to help bring those values to the NYOS community with integrity, fairness, and student-centered focus. I know what has been said about me this school year. In spite of that, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, and I know what I have consistently brought to this community over the last 5 years. I also know that there is always room for improvement. Hashtag growth mindset. I believe in accountability, I believe in justice, I believe in fairness, and I believe NYOS deserves leadership that reflects those values in practice, not just in words. So being able to serve this community would truly be an honor. It would give me the opportunity to give back and to pour into this community the way they have given back, encouraged, lifted me up, and poured into me over this last school year. So again, it would truly be an honor to serve on the NYOS School Board. Thank you.
Catherine Saunders.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Saunders. I'm introducing myself as a candidate for the NYOS School Board. I'm the parent of 2 current NYOS students, one in secondary and one in elementary. Along with being a parent, I have a background in education, including previous certifications in K-12 music and 4-8 math. I taught when we had the tax test and did remedial math. I have taught in both Austin and Round Rock ISDs. After my daughter was diagnosed with a double deficit dyslexia, I began training as a certified academic language therapist. I discovered firsthand how difficult it can be to navigate special education laws as a parent, so I went back to school and will earn my master's degree in special education with a dyslexia emphasis at the end of this year. I've also experienced how expensive private therapies are for students with learning disabilities, and so I provide intensive dyslexia intervention to children in my community at no cost to their families. As a parent who is vocal and often critical regarding current education practices, I also strongly believe in investing my time and effort towards the needs of my communities, which is why I'm here tonight asking the board to consider me for a seat as a parent representative. Thank you.
Meg Kochu.
Good evening. I am Meg Kochu. I am parent of 2 daughters. I have an elementary daughter and a secondary daughter. And I'm also the instructional coach and training specialist for the elementary. And I, along with the instructional coach position and training specialist position, I facilitate Love and Logic, which is our positive supports for families and for teachers. So generally, overall, I just want to bring the opportunity to really learn from you all, to have a growth mindset, to have the opportunity to be a lifelong learner. And I think that as a community member here, we came here from Maine a few years ago, and as I was looking for schools for my daughters, and as I was thinking about where I wanted to be, where I wanted to pursue my career, I really wanted to make sure that it was someplace that focused on the whole child, that really rang true for my family values and what we wanted for our kiddos. And this has been that community. And so I really want to have the opportunity to be in a different position, a different role in the school, so that I have a greater understanding of what's going on, and so that I'm able to support in any way that I can. Thanks so much.
Rennie Rodriguez. Kristen Costello.
I'm Kristen Castillo. I currently have 2 middle school kids here, and my youngest starts kinder in the fall, really July, so I will have a kid in every building here next year. That also means I have a very long career of being at NYOS, the next 13 years or so. I am passionate about supporting teachers, supporting our kids, not teaching to the test. I love Love and Logic, and I like to bring all of that stuff together. Career-wise, I have been in Austin real estate since 2004. And really, that just means I'm a professional problem solver. So when people have needs, I find solutions, and that's what I'd like to bring here. I consider myself kind of a relationship builder. I love to connect people and say, you should talk to this person. Let's see what this person knows, what can they bring. And I'm just really excited to be here. If you look in Schoolmint, you can see where we tried to get into NYOS years ago, and those old applications are still there. And our path went around and we finally made it. And I'm just really happy to be here, and I want to contribute to continue to what NYOS has been known for so long and to help it grow and really just kind of continue to be that incredible place for our kids to grow and learn.
Okay, I believe that's everybody. Is there anyone else that we didn't call that? Okay, I want to make sure we didn't miss anyone. Okay, so the school board will meet in executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.074 regarding personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. There will be no action. In closed session, we will come out and vote publicly for our new board members. The time is now 7:45. Board members, you need your computers. Okay, we have a quorum present. The board now reconvenes into open session. The time is now 8:24 p.m. Let the record reflect that no action took place in closed session. We will now proceed with voting on each position. We will take each category one at a time. For each position, I will call for a motion followed by a second discussion and vote. Okay, our first category is community members positions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to nominate Ali Oni to a community member position.
Okay, do I have a second? David second, all in favor? Okay, no opposed, abstains. Ali is abstaining. Motion carries. Congratulations, Ali. Do I have another motion?
You gotta let go of it, I've learned.
Oh, motion for Bob Kahn.
Do I have a second? Okay, just seconds. All in favor? Okay, unanimous vote. Thank you. Congratulations, Bob Kahn. We're excited to have you. Do I have any other motions for community members?
Oh, there we go. I did let go as well.
I know you did.
I did it all right. I'd like to motion for Hassan Al-Dabatabai.
Who? Oh, Hassan. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Abstain? Hassan. Congratulations, Hassan. Okay, any other motions for community?
I'll motion for Sharon.
Second.
Ben second. All in favor? Okay, Sharon is not here, but congratulations. Any other motions for community members? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to teacher member positions. Do I have a motion for an elementary member position?
I'd like to nominate Sarah Gamble.
Okay, David made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second Sarah Gamble.
Okay. Ben made the second. All in favor? Unanimous vote. Sarah, congratulations. She's not here tonight, but do I have a motion for a secondary?
I motion for Mark.
Okay, Ali's motion for Mark. Do I have a second? Hassan, all in favor? Abstain? Mark abstains. Congratulations, Mark. Okay. Richard, you good? Next, we have parent member positions. As a reminder, we have 2 parent member positions open. Do I have a motion for an elementary member position?
I'll make a motion to nominate Ruby Reyes to a parent position.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ally, all in favor? Okay, looks like unanimous vote. Richard, I'm guessing you're voting too.
I did not vote.
Okay, do we have opposed? Richard? Okay. Any abstains? None? Okay, motion passes. Do we have a motion for a secondary position? A parent position?
I'd like to motion for Andrea Vega.
Do I have a second? Jessica seconds. All in favor? Okay. Motion passes. Unanimous vote. Congratulations. That concludes our voting for positions on the board for next year. Congrats to our new board members. The next step is to complete the background checks required by state law. I will be reaching out. The board will meet in executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.074 and 551.082 to hear a Level 3 grievance appeal from a NYOS parent. The time is now 8:29 p.m. Are we here? We're here. Okay, we have a quorum present, and the board now reconvenes into open session. The time is now 9:35 p.m. Let the record reflect that no action took place in closed session. The board will not take any action at this time. Okay, agenda items for June. I have policies, question mark, because we didn't have any policies this time, so there may be some. Leadership Transition Committee update, 26, 27, budget. I put budget, right, and compensation recommendations. Board officer interest forms, I think that may go out soon, so start thinking about that. We do have 2 meetings in June, so we'll also do the amended 25-26 budget. We may I think we have to look at the student code of conduct and the parent handbook. STAR results, hopefully, maybe we can get those, so that'll be good. Staff satisfaction survey, is that something that we'll have? I'm hoping. Okay. Okay, if there's anything else, let me know. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Ben?
I'll second.
Hassan, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. We adjourned at 9:37 p.m. Thanks, y'all.